Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about the myth that you only use 10% of your brain. The reason for my interest in this topic is because I find it amazing how the brain is responsible for all functions in the body. Even the smallest portion of your brain is in control of one single specific function that keeps the body from failing. I want to show others that there is a reason for every single inch in your brain and not just 10% like most of the public will believe. So the evolution of your brain. As humans evolved, so did our brains, which resulted in our brain being about 6 times larger than other mammals. It suggests that the reason the brain grew in size over millions of years is for fitness advantages. Regions of the brain became larger based on the need for the humans to survive. This explains how the entire brain is used for a specific purpose, again, not just 10%. The image to your right shows the evolution of the hominid brain, so you can see how it starts out super small and becomes so much larger over 5 million years. There's 3 common misconceptions. So the most common is that we simply use only 10% of our brain while the rest is just static brain material. Another misconception created by the public is that 10% of our brain has been mapped out and fully understood, while the rest of the 90% hasn't been studied enough and fully understood, I guess. And then the last common misconception the public has created is that our brain is split into 2 different parts. So you have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. It is said that the conscious mind of the brain is 10 to 20%. And the other 80 to 90% is subconscious. So like we learned in class, there are 4 lobes of the brain. You have your frontal lobe, which controls cognitive skills like memory, language, and behavior. You have your parietal lobe, which controls sensory information. You have the occipital lobe, which controls the ability for you to see, and your temporal lobe, which regulates auditory perception or speech. Other important regions of the brain. So you have a hypothalamus, which controls behavior such as hunger, thirst, sleep, and sexual response. The thalamus plays a role in pain sensation, attention, and memory. The basal ganglia controls fine movements such as fingertip movements. The pineal gland regulates the body's internal clock and circadian rhythm. Your pituitary gland secretes hormones to control sexual development, promote bone and muscle growth, and response to stress. And then your cerebellum controls balance, coordination, and other fine movements. Then you have your brain imaging. So there are many types of brain imaging techniques, which include a PET scan, an MRI, a functional MRI, and an EEG, which is an electroencephalography. Each type of brain imaging technique is a solid way to prove that us humans do in fact use our entire brain to function on a daily basis. And I have images on the right, or the left, my bad, sorry, showing each different imaging. So you have the PET scan, the EEG, the MRI, and the functional MRI, and they all show that every single part of the brain is firing in some sort of way. So the purpose for each brain imaging technique. The PET scan shows brain processing using the sugar glucose in the brain to show where neurons are firing. The MRI uses echo waves to decipher between gray matter, white matter, and cerebrospinal fluid. The functional MRI is a series of MRIs measuring brain function via a computer combination of multiple images that are only taken a few seconds apart. And then your EEG shows brain activity under a certain psychological states. Another important technique that I found in most of my primary literature articles was brain mapping using the EEG. So it's a measure of electrical pattern on the surface of the scalp, which reflects cortical activity or brain waves. It's a higher form of neurological imaging, producing images supplemented by the results of additional behavior activity in the brain. It's an attempt to relate the brain's structure to its function or finding which part gives us certain abilities. This is a type of mapping, is a guaranteed way to illustrate the constant activity in the entire brain under specific circumstances. So the image here shows the activity of your brain when your eyes are closed, when you have a left arm massage and a right arm massage, and it shows the intensity based on the colors. So if they're blue, it's not as intense, all the way up to red, that's where most of the neurons are firing. So there was an article by Vincent Calhoun that explained the link between brain structure and function. He performed many different types of MRI imaging to find the link between structure and function of the brain. They used structural MRI, functional MRI, and diffusion-weighted MRI. The image to your right shows intrinsic connectivity network of the brain. And as you can see, basically all portions of the brain are somehow connected. Not one part of the brain is left out. So this again proves that we do in fact use our entire brain to function. So there is evidence through disease and injury. There are many brain injuries that prove that there is not a single area in the brain that can be damaged without resulting in some sort of consequence. So for example, if someone were to be in a car accident and hit their head, anywhere on their head, there will always be brain damage resulting in a lack of function of the body. Brain cancer is another example. It's showing that no matter where the cancer spreads, there will be a severe symptom affecting things like vision, if it were in your occipital lobe, confusion, loss of balance, if it were in your cerebellum, and things like seizures. So yeah.